Hey there everybody. As you can see, we've got a good little dusting here of snow last night. It's pretty cold, definitely below freezing, and we've got about 2 to 3 inches of snow coming tonight. It's about 5:15 in the afternoon and I'm losing light pretty quickly, so I'm not going to make a big video about the setup. We're just going to do it, get it up, and kind of go from there. So I'll see you in a minute. Hi-yow. About 15 minutes and the tent is up. I'm gonna get the stove put in and get the pipe all in and just kind of get it ready to camp in. I'm excited. This is gonna be fun. Wow, guys. Mischief managed. I put my stove together. I realized that I had the top on well, kind of turned the wrong way. I had the hole near the door instead of the back. So I took everything off and I set these little pieces, these teeny tiny metal pieces right here. I set 4 of them together on the ground. I was like, as long as I keep them together, I won't lose them. Well, that was great until I got to the last one, and then I couldn't find the last one. And so I have been for the past like 25 minutes searching for that one little piece. Oh, so worried I had lost it for good, but I just found it. I had to sift through a lot of leaf litter and snow. My hands are freezing cold. I am so ready to get the fire started in this little stove. Whew, okay. It's about 7 o'clock. Light snow outside, and I think I finally got everything set up. It took me a lot longer than what I wanted. Just chilling out tonight, no big plans. Put a fire in the stove, cooked some steak. I got some green beans, so steak and green beans for dinner. Maybe have a little tea later tonight, and just kind of ride this winter storm out. Too big. There we go. Okay. Alrighty. Whew. Time for the beans to come off and the steak to get on. Here we go. Yes, yes. Gotta try one of these green beans. Very impatient. Oh, that's good. Ooh, yeah. Throw some shallots down in there with it. Some aromatics. Whew. Well, I've got a big plate of hot food here. Come take a look. It turned out great. Steak, big hunkin' ribeye steak. Shallots, green beans. Looks fantastic. Time to take a bite. Oh yeah. The onion salt really coming through. And the seasoning. Get some of these shallots and green beans. so good. Just so you know, by the way, I'm not way out in the wilderness. I'm actually not that far away from my home. This was my first like snowy winter camp, and to be honest, I was a little anxious about it. About like driving in it, and how do I get there, and what if I get stuck, and I mean, I drive a truck, and I got four-wheel drive and all that, but you know, it's my first time. I think it's okay to be anxious about stuff like that, to be cautious. And so I'm not far from my home. I actually walked from my house to this spot. I am in the woods, but not in the wilderness by any means. But, you know, I have a solid exit strategy that if something went weird tonight, I got really cold, or if the snow got to be too much, I could just ditch this and I could walk home. I could be there in about a 10 or 15 minute walk. I think for young campers, and I consider myself still kind of a newbie, you know, don't go crazy. Play it safe, you know. Ski the bunny slope for a little bit. And then you can kind of, you know, we'll get on out to the bigger slopes later, but you know, you got to know your gear. You got to know yourself. You got to know how you handle cold weather and harsh conditions. You have to know and test your skills and your ability. You know, out in the severe wilderness is not a great place to test your skills for the first time. So I don't know how I got on that soapbox, but I think it's just because it would be easy for YouTube. You know, if I wanted to pitch this as some harsh wilderness camp, I could, but it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be fair. It would be fake. I mean, I think it's easy for people on YouTube to, like, they're showing you what they want you to see. And, I don't know. I think it can cause some, like, young viewers who are inexperienced to kind of get out and try to imitate what they see and potentially do some dangerous things. I don't know. Just trying to be smart about it, that's all. Ooh, it's cold. Definitely colder out here than it is. Oh, wow. Okay. Let me show you my tent setup here. Look at it going. You can see the little fire going inside. Ooh, yeah, I'm not going to stay out here too long. Snow is falling off the side. I can hear it roll off the side every once in a while, and it catches on that bottom. There's a bottom lip. You can really see it over here, but yeah. Coming down, and I'm cooling off. I'm gonna go back inside. I'm enjoying this. This is nice. Phew. Everything was going good, and it's like I've got creosote, I guess, dripping out of the chimney, and it's hitting the stove and smoking me out. I've got the I've got the door open trying to let some smoke out. Still snowing. Alright everybody, it's about 11:30, almost 11:30, and just went outside to clear the bladder before crawling into the sleeping bag for the night. It's still snowing, real light, but still snowing. It's been a nice night so far. I've got some nice hot coals here in the stove. I may put one more little piece of wood in there just before I go crawl in the sleeping bag, unless something weird or wild happens or interesting happens. I'll check with you guys in the morning. Good night. Oh guys, well, it's like 2:30 and I think I'm gonna have to bail. I don't want to, but let me show you what's happening in here. It's just kind of a mess. I had to open the door. I was getting smoked out. I don't know exactly what's happening, but I think I've got some like creosote maybe build up in the chimney pipe, and it was spewing out. I don't know, I woke up around 1:30 and I wasn't freezing cold, but you know, my face was a little cold, and I was like, you know what, I'll just stoke the fire back up, and I did. It took a little going, but I got it back going, and it's just this black, that's all I know is it's creosote, just seeped out where the pipe meets the joint right there. And then it was smoking, and so I was having to come out for fresh air. This is kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm freezing cold. I had to get out of the bag, so my whole body is just numb now. I mean, if I start moving around, I can warm up. I had to open up the door to get the smoke out of there so I could just breathe. And so now everything's freezing cold in there. I don't know. I think I'm within walking distance of my house, and I think I'm just gonna bail. I hate to do it, but I'll take a load back with me and I'll dump it off and I'll crash, and then I'll get up in the morning when it's light, and this stove will be cooled down, and I'll empty it out, and I'll just kind of take a look and see what happened. I'll save a little analysis on kind of what's happened and my thoughts and all that. I'll try to save that for tomorrow when I'm a little more clear-headed. Phew, okay, yeah, I'm gonna pack up and head home. Well, here we are, next morning, returning to the scene of the crime. This is not exactly how I planned to start the morning. I intended wholeheartedly to wake up out here and kind of be a part of this environment from dusk to dawn, but it just didn't work out that way. So I had a little chance this morning after drinking my cup of coffee and eating a little breakfast. I was doing a little research on creosote and creosote drippage and kind of how that works and what causes it, and I think I've got some ideas, and I'd like to share them with you, just so that maybe people watching can maybe avoid these same problems. One reason why there's buildup is because there's temperature change, drastic temperature change, and obviously we've got a stovepipe that is partially inside where it's going to be warmer, and then a good piece of it sticking out the top where it's going to be colder out here. And when that exhaust hits the colder part of the pipe, you're going to get that creosote or gumminess that builds up on the inside. Now, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm not interested in shortening the length of the pipe or trying to adjust the pipe. That's just, it is what it is, but that is one of the causes for creosote buildup. Another thing is the type of wood that you use. This is birch, and this is just birch that I purchased from like the local grocery store. You know, they have them sitting out front at your local grocery store, and I bought 2 big packages of it, and I went through almost all but these 3 pieces here. I went through almost an entire package. Now, birch in itself is not a bad wood to burn. It is a hardwood, and it's a fairly choice wood for firewood. The problem is, I think with a lot of these like grocery store retailers, they don't sell properly seasoned wood. I think there is still some moisture content in this wood. It's not green, but I think there's enough moisture content in this wood that that is creating that moisture inside, creating that condensation in the hot chimney pipe, and is one of the main reasons there why we were getting drippage down the pipe and kind of back into the inside of the tent here and onto the stove eventually, where it was burning and then creating smoke. So I think if I was to do this again, I would either make sure I purchased wood from a kind of a legit, you know, hardwood dealer, somebody who is in the business of that, and probably not purchase it at a grocery store, right, or something like that. I think also if I had the option, I would not use birch most likely, unless it was really seasoned. I think I would just go for a really good piece of seasoned oak. Birch does burn hot, but it also burns really quickly, and oak would burn a lot slower, and again, that would help maintain a steady temperature burn throughout the entire length of the burn. So I think a lot of the reason why birch didn't work for me is the high moisture content. It wasn't seasoned well, and as also just the fact that birch is burning hot and quick, and then it was burning down, and that was cooling off, and then I would throw more wood in and it would heat back up and burn quick again, and those temperature fluctuations were causing that gumminess inside of the chimney pipe. The last trouble for me is this joint here, and I have the Wild Wild West tent stove, titanium tent stove. This is my least favorite part of this tent stove. This joint here between the chimney pipe and the stove itself. I've been looking for ways to modify this, and I've come up with a few ideas, but nothing that I love yet 100%. But I'm going to fix this, because the problem is that the chimney pipe has to go on top of this joint, which means if something drips down here, it's got an outside exit and it's burning on top of here. It hits this hot stove and it burns, and the smoke is coming out into my tent. If the chimney pipe was inside of the joint, which it won't fit inside this joint, but if it did, the creosote buildup, even if it built up, would drip inside and drip inside the stove, which it would still burn, it would still smoke, but the smoke would evacuate out through the chimney, and so it would not enter the tent here and create all that smoke in here, which is essentially the reason why I had to leave. I tell you, I'm going to do just a little time lapse of the breakdown, and then I want to, before I kind of call it a video, I want to take a look at the inside of that chimney pipe and just kind of show you what it looks like inside. So I'm curious to see myself. The buildup was the greatest here near the stove. Look at that. This is all just flaky, dried up creosote. And you can see here some drippage happened. It ran down here. So it ran the whole course. And I think what we're seeing really, it looks like things are good up here and they're terrible down here, but I don't know that this is necessarily the culprit. That's just where gravity took it. You can see, you know, some up here, condensation, dripping happened. It was just being pulled by gravity, and I think why we're seeing it so terrible right here is just because that's where it collected. Whew, okay, so all in all, I was actually really pleased with the overall experience. Little down and out that I didn't make it the whole night, but I'll tell you why I feel like there were a lot of positives is I feel good about my gear, like I'm layered up, I'm not too cold, my boots are good, my gloves, my hands feel good, my head's good, like so my gear that I'm wearing is good for the temperatures out here, and it got down really cold. I'm pretty pleased with my backpack. I'm pleased with the tent. I like the tent. I like the stove, don't get me wrong. I know I've kind of jabbed at it, you know, and bad talked it a few spots, but I like the stove, and I think the stove itself is fine. That little connector piece, I've got to find some type of replacement for that so that if there's creosote drippage, it's funneled inside the tent stove, where yes, it will burn when it hits that tent stove, but the smoke will, you know, exhaust out the chimney pipe like it's supposed to, and not inside my tent. So I've got to fix that. And I think that's the kind of the number one thing. The number two thing is wood choice. I want to go with some hardwood oak, and make sure that if I ever use birch again, I'm not anti-birch. I just make sure that it's, you know, properly seasoned and it doesn't have a high moisture content to it. But I think if I'm going to use this tent stove like for a long overnighter, I got to use oak, some really nice seasoned oak that will be long burning, slower burning, and still provide the warmth that I need. So thank you all for joining me on this little outing. I hope it was somewhat entertaining and informative, and you know, you can learn with me and from my mistakes and things that I'm experiencing. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.